Welcome. In this video I'm going to be replacing the battery in my early 2015 MacBook, and this is a Retina MacBook, and I've done a previous video on doing this in my mid-2012 MacBook. I'll put a link in the description of that. And in this video I'll be using this battery I ordered on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description of this on Amazon. If you use this link, it helps me out a little bit. It doesn't cost you anything extra. I'll also be using this toolkit I reviewed this. I'll put a link in below to this video. And I want to say this is very dangerous. So this is just for kind of entertainment. You can watch this, but go to other resources if you want to do this on figuring it out. I'm going to be following the procedure on the iFixit website. So this is a bulging battery. It's kind of hard to see on video, but it's bulging up right here. It doesn't close all the way. So the first thing I want to do is I want to remove all the screws. So when I remove the screws, I like to set the laptop somewhere, remove the screws, put them adjacent to where I take them out, and then leave it there. That way I know where they go back in. And you can also shoot a video, which is what I'm doing right now. And then if you get confused, you can always refer back to your video. So this battery comes with some screwdrivers also here. I guess it has a user manual. And then we have a variety of screwdrivers. We've got some Torx, pentalobe, and Phillips, and trilobe, I think. Okay, so I'm using the 1.2 millimeter pentalobe, and I'll take out all these screws. I also drain the battery in this first, because batteries are energy, they have energy in them, and if you drain them out, there's less likely to have a problem if they start on fire or anything. Wow, there was a ton of pressure on this. So definitely have your eye protection on, because these screws could shoot out at you. I also have a fire extinguisher nearby. So you can see the gap that's formed here just by taking this off. There's a lot of pressure under there. Sorry I blocked some of those from you seeing it, but yeah, I had to put quite a bit of downward pressure on that to get it out. So now I'll pop this off. So it has little clips here, they're supposed to clip in here, but you can see whoa, there's tons of pressure in that. Yikes. So that's off now. I'm actually going to move this over, and I'm going to move the screws to where they go. So this computer was crashing every once in a while, but otherwise it was running actually pretty good, and I was doing all my video editing on here. It's amazing how well this thing worked, considering that these batteries are bulged up so bad. Let's see if I can lift this. I'm going to make sure I don't pop these. And you can see now the case will close properly. So that was, flexing the board quite a bit. So you may have to pop that off the back. I didn't have to here because the batteries did that for me. Okay, so next I need to remove this here. And you'll want to ground yourself. If you touch metal on the case, that will ground you. So there's this piece of adhesive. I took that off. So now I'm getting the spudgers out of my kit here. And I need to lift up on this battery connector. So it says you want to take the connector off without removing the socket from the board. So I'm going to get under here and lift up. There we go. Okay, so that's off now. That's disconnected. You can see how thick this is here. There's that little thin edge. And that hangs over so you can grab that edge with your spudger and pop that loose. Then it says bend it out of the way. Next I'll move to the middle of the computer, and I have this bracket here. I want to remove these two T5 Torx screws. So the little bracket comes off now, and these have the same size screws. Pay attention to that. I'm going to go set these over to the side, and I'll put these in order so when I go put it back together I can go the reverse of how I took it apart. Next I'll use a spudger here to pop this off. Okay, that came off pretty easily. So I'll lift this out of the way. There's a little bend right here. You can bend it back just a little bit. Next we want to reach under this and pop this off. Okay, I got that detached. So I want to peel that back. There's a little bit of adhesive right here. Okay. So I have that detached now. Next I'm going to remove these 3 screws. Those are also T5 Torx. Okay, so the top one was not threaded all the way through. I can't focus on this very easy, but the top one was longer but not threaded all the way through. The one on the outside corner was threaded and longer, and then the one right here was the shortest. I imagine some people will be watching this video because they forgot where the screws go. So now this can come off from here. And here's the little tiny speaker. So this is the right hand speaker. I'm going to set this over to the side and I'll put the screws next to where they go. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. You have a speaker connector here and then some screws. So these are also T5 Torx. So now I can lift up this speaker. It says be careful not to snag the cable on this right here. We got to take it out from under. Okay. So now I'll remove the trackpad cable here. I'll just pop that off. There we go. I'll pop the other end loose. So next we want to remove the trackpad cable. So we'll lift this tab here, and then we'll put the spudger under this little black bar, and we will disconnect it. We'll lift up on it. Okay, and that will release the cable. And this cable should be stuck down, but my battery is so bulged that it's not right now. So now I can slip this out carefully. There we go. And now this is out. So when the battery bulged up, it disconnected the adhesive. Next I'm going to remove this T5 Torx right here. So now things are going to start getting kind of dangerous. So this wouldn't be a bad idea to do this outside, but you need to do it with good ventilation. We're going to put some acetone under the battery, and we're going to try and remove all this, the adhesive on this. So the first thing I recommend doing is taking aluminum foil and putting it in between to protect your screen, because the acetone can dissolve your screen. To clarify, it doesn't dissolve your screen, it dissolves the protective coating on the screen. So I'll prop that open, and I'll stick the tin foil there. You wouldn't want to use plastic because acetone can just dissolve a lot of different kinds of plastic. So that's the better way to do it. So here you want eye protection. So if you breathe acetone in, it can irritate your sinuses and things like that. From what I understand, your body will metabolize it, and it supposedly won't give you cancer, but I'm not a scientist, so don't listen to the guy on the internet about the safety of this stuff. It's highly, highly flammable. It stinks real bad, so be careful using this. So I put a tiny amount in this little metal tray. I'm going to suck it up with a syringe, and this may dissolve the syringe for all I know. I haven't tried it yet. So I'm going to drip this in between here, and then I'm going to start prying it up. I'm going to make sure I don't pop these things. I don't know what would happen. I don't want to find out. So I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes to dissolve that adhesive. Then I'm going to start prying it up. Okay, so I got a credit card to try and wedge this in there, and I tested and it doesn't seem to dissolve this, so I'll try it. So it seems to be going under there. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit more under there. So I'm going to put some over on this side too so it can start dissolving. Okay, so I have this side up. I'm going to take it out, and I'm going to stick a piece of paper in there to keep it from sticking back down. And now I'll work on this side. I think I need to put a little more acetone in there. Okay, so I have the other side up. So next I need to tackle the middle here. So I'll lift this up, and I'll squirt some of the acetone under the battery there. It's kind of dark, so I'm going to use a flashlight here so I can see. So I have it mostly up. I'm going to throw a piece of paper in there so it doesn't reseal. Now I'll do the same to the other side. Okay, there I have the whole battery off now. I'm going to go set this on the concrete floor where it won't start on fire. Or if it does, it won't hurt as much. I'm going to go take that to a recycler probably as soon as I can. So you can see we still have some adhesive here, so I'll need to peel that off. It's stuck on there pretty good, so I'll soak it down with some acetone. Okay, so if you're curious as to how much acetone I used, I'm going to say I barely have smelled it this whole time I've been doing it. I've been using such a tiny amount using the syringe that I put barely any on this. So now the rest of this residue needs to be cleaned off. You should probably use acetone for that, but I'm using this paint deglosser. It's also called liquid sandpaper. I'm just going to put a little bit on a paper towel, and this stuff's incredibly volatile, and it's probably not good to breathe in. I think that's good enough. So now we're ready to put in the new battery, and this has its own adhesive on it around the perimeter. So you'll want to line some things up. So we'll lay that in place like so. So that's going to fit in here just about like that. So I think I'm going to do is take that screw that was holding that corner in and make sure that's in place. I think that's the only screw that's holding this in. And then I'll check the fit of everything else and before I press it down. So this is a very thick plastic here. So the adhesive on this one started to come up with the backing. I'll just stick it right back down. This is very, very tacky. So I have to be quick with this. Okay, so I was able to put that screw in, and now I'll lay this down in place. Okay. So I'm not going to press it down too firm until I get the other things in place in case I need to take it back up, which I'm hoping I don't have to do. So to put this back together, I'm going to start with the speaker here, and I was missing the little side screw. Well, it got stuck to the magnet on the speaker, so it's something to watch for. I need to make sure I get it under this little bracket, and I'll stick it in place if it fits. So again, I'm not going to tighten all these down yet. Next, I'm going to get the right speaker in. Same thing. Okay, so all that seemed to fit fairly well. So now I will take the cover off here, the protective plastic. And now I'll tighten down all these screws. Next, I'll plug the speaker back in. That'll just clip down. Same with the other side. I'll clip this connector in. It went in easily. Now I have the zero insertion force connector. I'll stick this in, I'll slide it in, and then I'll press down on that little black tab. See if I can get closer to that. Okay, it clamped down. I'll put the connector on the other side. Okay. I'll kind of press down on the battery too. Next, I'll replace this little shield. Okay, so I have everything connected. I can plug the battery in, and I can replace this sticker. So I plug the battery back in, I replace the sticker. So this should boot up now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the bottom. I'll double check all my connections. Looks good. These are all down. This should clip in place now in the middle. Okay, and this should boot up. And if it works, then I will flip it back over and I will replace the screws. Well, it took a second, but it's doing it. That's a good sign. Okay, so that worked. So I'm going to shut it down now. And they recommend calibrating the battery. It says charge it up to 100%, keep it charged for at least 2 or more hours, unplug and use it normally to drain the battery. When you see the low battery warning, save your work, keep your laptop on until it goes to sleep due to low power. Leave it there for 5 hours, then charge your laptop uninterrupted to 100%. So what I like to do is I like to set the power saving settings so it doesn't sleep, and then I'll run a Netflix movie or two through it. That will kill the battery thoroughly, and then I can charge it back up. So this is ready to go after I put these screws back in, and it's just the opposite of taking them out. So that was a tricky process, but it wasn't too bad. The glue came loose pretty easily. I was a little nervous because of those poofy batteries, but you know, if you do this yourself, don't use my video as the only reference. I'll put a link in the description to that battery. If you buy from there, it helps me out a little bit. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.